Okay, so I have brought into a session raw tracks that I've recorded from another session that I've done in the studio here. This is Megan Jean's solo record. This is a song called No Shows. And we have raw tracks. So, what we're doing today is using only stock plugins to mix this song. It's a pretty basic instrumentation. We have drums down here in orange. We have acoustic guitar on one side, we have banjo on the other side, and then we have an upright bass and vocals with one harmony. The upright, we have a mic and a DI. It's mostly the mic we're going to be hearing on this K bass. That's the DI I have. We have two mics on the acoustic guitar. And again, these are raw tracks right now. There's no EQ, there's no plugins. And if I bring up my mixer, you'll see the few plugins that I do have. Like I pulled over one that came with the vocal. They're all stock plugins for Cubase. So this is a de-esser, and then nothing is sent to my reverbs yet, but I have a room and I have a long kind of echoey reverb I'm going to be using. I got a compressor that I haven't turned on yet. Let's just listen to a little bit of where it's at.
Keeping a starter at 8 on the draft in my coffee. Tastes exactly the way I like it. Strong and vibrant. 'Cause I ain't doing no shows. I ain't doing no shows. I ain't doing no shows. And I ain't leaving town. I ain't driving hours for 50 bucks a man. I ain't doing no shows, and I may never again. Who knows if I ever will again.
Okay, so that's the gist of the song. That's all just raw tracks. My guess is that I'm going to be able to get this sounding really good actually with just stock plugins, because we have reverb, we have EQ, and we have compression, we have a de-esser, and really that's all I need for the most part. But Cubase has built into it saturation as well. I'm going to be probably utilizing some of that. And we're going to be getting an awesome mix here. I think that's the goal. So we're going to see what I can do. And we're going to see how necessary all the expensive plugins are, which, don't get me wrong, I love all of my plugin collection, and I love buying new plugins and using different plugins. This isn't to say you don't need that or you shouldn't do that, but it's I think it's going to be a fun experiment to see how big of a difference that makes. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and get some of these plugins added. And I kind of got started last night. I brought up this compressor for the vocal, and again, Megan is a very, very dynamic vocalist. So typically I would start with like a 10 or 12 ratio with her. So I'm like, let's go ahead and go to 10. Well, this maxes out at 8, but conveniently there is a high ratio button. So we'll click that, and I don't know what that does. You can see on the graph here, it appears to increase the ratio a little bit. I have no idea what ratio it is. It doesn't really matter. So I figured I would start at 8. And then maybe if I wanted to really have control, I could add another compressor at the same threshold and just add it onto that. So I think if I did another 2-to-1 on an 8-to-1, I think that would give me 10-to-1 if I math right. I'm not sure. Someone can probably correct me if that's not right. So stick with me, and I'll get some of these plugins added up, and we'll start mixing and check out how it sounds. All right, so let's check out this mix. I'm going to go through the tracks. Let's just hear the drums. And we have EQs here for Cubase. Let's see what we got here. I mean, it's going to come with your stock EQs. I think these graphic ones. Yep. But I don't want a graphic EQ. I think, okay, this, whatever this is, it's probably actually cool. I just don't know what it is. I've never used it. So what I'm going to do is just keep it ultra simple. Oh, Studio EQ. That sounds like a stock plugin. This is. And this reminds me of something you would see in Logic, stock plugin or something as well. But you know what? I think we have an EQ right here. I'm just going to use that. I'm going to keep it ultra simple. Let's check out these drums. Just giving it a little bit of clarity here. I'm just going to just straight up scoop it here and kind of start with that. Add some low into it, which I think it needs. Sometimes I pair a kick with an outside mic. This is not the case. I have a really simple drum setup here. So it's just an inside kick mic. So I'm going to boost that low end a little bit and kind of go from there. Let's check out this snare. So yeah, I've already, when I imported this into this session, some of the EQ must have come through with it. Let's see what we got here. Looks like I just had that band notched out, so let's go with that. Just brushes on this snare, so it's not a super awesome tone, but I think it's workable, and especially it's fitting musically. So let's check out if we can just kind of notch out some frequencies here. And right away, I can already tell my process is very different already because I don't normally EQ this much, and but I feel like I am just staring at this EQ that's right in front of me on every track. So I'm like, hey, now I'm allowed to use this. Let's just go nuts. Because I normally try, I do use this EQ even when I mix full, like regular sessions, but I don't know. I try to use other EQs. I have the SSL that I like a lot. And other EQs I've gotten used to, and I always try to be minimal. So this is kind of different for me already, but I think we can work through it. So let's check it out here. Yeah, I mean, I like what we got here so far. Let's check out these overheads. I have put them on a group track or not. Let's see. No, I didn't. Well, let's do that real quick. So we want our overheads mixed together. Stereo group track. Let's check it out. Yeah, I really don't hate that. I'm gonna leave it. There's some low end of that kick drum coming through, but maybe we need that. I might end up shelving that out, but I'm just gonna leave that for now. I don't want to just go overdoing everything. That would be crazy, especially given this scenario that I found myself in. So let's move on to bass. Again, I was working on this a little bit last night, so I think I'm going to stick with that for now. This bass had a ton of attack, and I love the tone that Byrne gets on this. It's a K bass, but yeah, I want to add a little bit of that low end even in there, and maybe scoop out some of the mids. So I'm liking that. Let's hear how that sounds together. I'm rolling with that for now. Let's check out this acoustic guitar. Yeah, and I don't think that needs a ton. It's kind of a different guitar tone, but that's just how that guitar sounds. I remember miking that up, and it's pretty cool. It's actually kind of nice in a mix. It's not overbearing like a lot of acoustic guitars can be. It's a lot more mellow, and I actually like that about it. So I'm boosting a little bit of the picking here, but you know, I don't need too much of that, so I'm gonna leave it pretty chill for now. Let's hear this banjo. I think this will need some EQ, and I might have some pulled over. Looks like I do. again, I mean, I like the mid cut kind of sound, but it's just how the instrument sounds like, and that's how we want a banjo to sound. It needs the mids. I think the music lives in the mids a little bit, so I might drag a little bit out just to make it a little crispy, but I'm not keen on cutting too much here, even though it looks like it. Let's leave it at that for now. Okay, let's check out these vocals. So I think I have a compressor here I was working on earlier. Let's get rid of the reverb for now. Let me just get this compression going and some EQ. This is a scratch track she did, so this is just like making sure the form was right. So she's just, she is not giving it her best performance, but I wanted to use that for this video because her main vocal just sounds too good. It didn't need any effects. So I wanted one that actually required some plugins. So that's why we ended up with this one. I think it'll be cool. Let's check it out.
Where I am and my back feels better. I'm growing plants, keeping a starter at a home address, and my coffee tastes exactly the way I like it, strong and vibrant. 'Cause I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, and I ain't leaving town, I ain't driving hours for $50 a man. I ain't doing no shows, and I may never again. Well, I still taste the mornings of the open road. Gas station coffees burnt somehow cold.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's a good start with the vocals. Honestly, sound pretty great. So this harmony it was compressed on the way in. Let's check it out. I don't know that it'll need much.
Doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, and I ain't leaving town, I ain't driving hours for $50 a man.
All right, cool. Yeah, and I'm EQing stuff, just soloing it, so it might change as I listen in the mix. And speaking of, let's listen in the mix. So I'm gonna do just the instruments here, and let's check this out. So yeah, I can definitely tell you that I'm struggling a little bit with this compressor. I'm just not used to it. I mean, that's part of it. But it's yeah, it's a little different. I'm getting there with it. I feel like I'm improving it, but as soon as I start compressing it where I like it, I start hearing it in the way that I don't want to hear it, kind of clamping down uh, on the banjo, on the instrument. So yeah, I'm fighting with that a little bit, but let's keep trucking here. Something about the compressor I'm not loving, but it might just be the way that I'm using it. As soon as I put the compression on that acoustic, the EQ started sticking out way too much to me. So you saw me draw that back a little bit. I think that's a good thing. So yeah, let's keep playing around with it here. that's come a long way, I think. Let's do a little comparison if we can. Okay, so yellow is bypassed. So I can do them all at once. So, okay, so yellow is bypassed. So pretty cool there. You know, not a huge change, but you can hear it, and that's what you want. I don't want it to sound super EQ'd. I don't want it to sound crazy. I don't want to get in the way of the music. So I think that's nice. What we could do now, I'm going to stick with the instruments for a second and do a little bit of reverb because I have this room reverb. It's called Roomworks. Totally knew that. Okay, that's a little long for a room, I think. Let's try it. Again, I'm keeping it pretty minimal here. Small steps, you know. I don't think it needs much. I don't like a ton of drenched reverb on the instruments. We can play with it on the vocals a little bit, but I think this is cool. It thickens it up a little bit. It warms it up a little bit. Gives it a little bit of space, and I think it does a pretty good job of that. I'm not going to mess with it too much. What about drums? Again, I find it very easy to add too much, so I'm gonna just dial it back. But I love the space that it gives those drums. It really puts them in the room, and it's really cool. It adds a lot of energy, I think. So I kind of like it. Okay, so I've been working on this mix and got it sounding pretty good with just the stock plugins. Let's take a look here at just kind of an overview of what I have. So what I did, so I can compare it really easy, is I duplicated all the tracks. So this top one is the completely raw tracks with nothing on them. This bottom one is all the stock plugins that I've used. So that's the actual mix we're looking at. So if we go here and look at what I did, it starts with this kick. So compression, de-esser, EQ. That's about it. And then on the stereo out, I did a little saturation and a multiband compressor. Similar to what I would do on a stereo out on a lot of the mixes that I work on. So one thing I came across that was really interesting, because I totally did not know I had this plugin. This just came with Cubase. I didn't download it. I didn't buy it. It's this vintage compressor, and it's pretty cool actually. And I feel like if this said Waves on it, people would pay for this plugin. But it's great. I mean, I've actually discovered some new plugins that I've had in my collection the entire time and just never really bothered to use them because I wanted to buy fun, fancy new plugins. So that's definitely been an interesting learning experience about this whole project. So this is pretty cool. I've been pretty happy with the mix that I've gotten here. So my hypothesis going into this project for this video was twofold. So one, I thought that using stock plugins only would be about as easy to mix relatively as using the paid preferred plugins that I like to use of my collection. The second part is I thought that the sound would be comparable. They would end up sounding pretty similar. And what I found out from doing this is that the second part I believe is true. I think I can get a pretty similar sound using stock only plugins. I mean, you know, I'm using reverb, I'm using compression, I'm using EQ. I got a little bit of saturation on there, and I think they're going to end up sounding pretty similar. So that part I think is true, but the first part is different. So as far as using the plugins and ease of use and how intuitive they are, that's where I really prefer, I think, the paid plugin collection that I have. I think they're more fun to use. I think they're a little bit easier for me to use. And one thing I mean by that is I'll just pull up one of the random plugins here. So I'll do an example with this multiband. You know, this isn't really that different from the isotope multiband that I typically use in function. But there's something about using this plugin when I turn the knobs, it doesn't quite react or respond the way that I expect it to, so I have to keep turning the knobs a little bit more. And I found that with the EQs definitely as well, where I go to EQ something and it's like I feel like I EQ'd it too much or not enough, and I'm used to be able to kind of hone in on the right area pretty quickly. And with those EQs, it's like I kept going back to the EQs and being like, well, that was too much, that was too little. And the same thing happened with this multiband. But you know, it's those little things where, like the paid plugins I use, I'm used to them more. I think that's really what it comes down to. But even, you know, if I'm using them for the first time, they respond the way I expect them to. And the same thing I've noticed with hardware. Like when I went to NAMM, I got the experience of getting to twist the knobs on a lot of gear. I went around just putting on the headphones they have and twisting all the knobs from like every manufacturer that had the setup there. And for some, you know, I'd play a mix through the headphones and I'd get to turn the knobs. And when I turn the knobs, it's like it was doing what it said it was going to do, but not the way that I heard it in my ear. It's like my ear expects a certain change, and when I turn the knob, it's like not quite what I was expecting. And that's what I found with like some of the cheaper gear and some expensive gear too that just didn't really like gel with me. And then certain other gear, I would turn the knob and, you know, it's just like exactly what I would expect. That's what I really like about good gear or like just certain gear. I mean, it's not even like good or bad, it's just what gear like gels with you. So that's what I'm looking for in these plugins here. And sometimes I find that with the stock plugins, but more often than not, I find myself going back and like adjusting more and more to find what my ear is like trying to hear. So you can hear like a completely raw mix versus a mixed mix with stock plugins only. And on this master bus, I'll pull this up too because this was kind of unique as far as what plugins I used. This came with Cubase too. I know most DAWs are including stuff like this, so this is just the distortion or like saturation plugin, and I gave a little bit there just to kind of hear it, but also I think it actually helps the mix. It sounds quite good. Let's A/B this and check it out and see what you guys think of my stock plugin mix.
Making breakfast in that same pan, in that same apartment, tells me where I am, and my back feels better. I'm growing plants, keeping a starter at a home address, and my coffee tastes exactly the way I like it, strong and vibrant. 'Cause I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, and I ain't leaving town. I ain't driving hours for $50 a man. I ain't doing no shows, and I may never again. Who knows if I ever will again? Well, I still taste the mornings of the open road. Gas station coffees burnt somehow cold. Waking up shattered in parking lots. Anxious 'cause a quarter of the doors all you got. Hey, the highway is exactly the way I left it, and I won't forget it. 'Cause I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, and I ain't leaving town. I ain't driving hours for a bunch of football fans, singing my heart out to their backsides again. Well, the highway is exactly the way I left it, and I won't forget it. 'Cause I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, I ain't doing no shows, and I ain't leaving town. I ain't driving hours for $50 a man, and I ain't doing no shows, and I may never again. Who knows if I ever will again? Who knows if I ever will again?
So there you go. Clearly the mixed one sounds a lot better. It sounds more cohesive as a mix. It sounds brighter, it sounds fuller, it sounds more crisp. And I think these plugins did a really good job sound-wise of getting the mix to where it needs to be. Again, I think this is comparable to like a mix I would get from all my paid plugins, but they're more fun to use, so I'm gonna keep using my paid plugins. I'm obviously not gonna like get rid of them all and just start using stock plugins, but it was interesting for me to do this video and see what the differences were. I hope you guys got something from that too. You know, even as a drummer, I know that new gear creates an inspiration. It makes it more fun in a different way all of a sudden to play the drums when I get a new cymbal or a new snare or whatever. And I think the same goes for mixing with plugins. If you get that new plugin, it's a lot of fun to go in there and tweak stuff with it and hear how it sounds, and you learn a little bit every time you do that, and it inspires you to make better mixes when that happens. So I don't think my paid plugin collection is just sounds so much better, but I do think I can get you know, really good mixes out of them and continue to learn and grow as an engineer while I use those. So that's where I ended up. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.